Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Zelku myself. I'm your host, Jeremiah, here back with another video. And as you notice something different, I am in fact live on Twitch as we speak over some crazy nonsense going on. I wanted to record both. I wanted to be live and record on Twitch at the same time because I wanted to start streaming on Twitch just because I can. And I wanted to try something new, but this is something else I got going that's going on right here. I want to give my own voices, my own opinions, etc., etc. So, any further ado, I really do hope all of you enjoy. I don't even know what that is, fam.
Well, Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe slams J.K. Rowling again over her stance on women's rights. Does he have a point, or is it the ultimate case of biting the hand that fed him his millions? Donald Trump sets out his vision for a second term in a major cover story interview with Time magazine. Critics say it's chilling. Supporters say they've got a dangerous new variant of Trump derangement syndrome. So which is right? Does shooting a dog show political toughness, or is it just political suicide? And there's a new trans-inclusive LGBTQ 1A2SL plus flag. Write that all down. As a public service. Well, joining me to debate all this is the Piers back commentator Brandon Tatum of the Officer Tatum YouTube channel, Blair White, host of the Blair White Project podcast, and in the studio, uncensored contributor Esther Krakow, and the sometime comedian James Barr, very famous sometime comedian after last week's...
I am the #1 Israel-Palestine correspondent in the UK.
Yeah, I think you've always had that reputation here as a sharp political commentator.
Please read my book.
Anyway, it's good to have you all. Let's start then with the NHS, the National Health Service here in this country, leading the way, many Americans think, in perhaps re-establishing some basic biological facts in the gender wars. And, of course, obviously also going further and banning puberty blockers, which America has yet to do. So let me ask you, first of all, James, the NHS is to declare sex a biological reality as part of its new constitution. The guidance will mean that trans men should not be housed in single-sex male wards. Transgender people whose gender identity differs from their biological sex may be provided single rooms where appropriate. Patients will have the right to request a person of the same biological sex delivers any intimate care. Phrases like chest feeding will be banned. And so on, all with the backdrop of Daniel Radcliffe saying that J.K. Rowling, who's been campaigning for all this, is disgusting and awful, and he wishes, presumably, he'd never taken her grubby millions. What do you sit with this? To me, this is not only a victory for common sense, but it's also going to help trans people in the long run. Because a lot of these debates, I think, have been very damaging to the transgender attempt to get to proper fairness and equality, because it has made transgender people the subject of mockery, and I think that's been very damaging. So that's where I sit with this. Where do you sit?
I think that's a confusing take, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure I understand that. I probably need you to unpack it another time. I think it's bullshit. I mean, you know how difficult it was for your mum to get a bed in hospital. You told that story recently, and it was devastating. And they're now saying they're going to separate people. They're going to check what's going on underneath their clothing. Like, this is just insane. They don't have enough resources as it is. It's a completely under-resourced institution, and the people that work for it are amazing, but they need more support, as do trans people, and to vilify trans people is just disgusting.
You've literally said nothing there. That was
Thanks,
a giant
Esther.
nothing burger.
Thank you.
And it said where appropriate, which means if the resources are there, then they can have their own rooms. At the end of the day, there's no reason for a trans woman to be on a maternity ward. And I hate to break it to you, but you're not a woman. You have no idea how it feels to have your legs open, being in that intimate environment, trying to give birth. There is no space for someone who identifies as something else other than their gender to be
Why
there.
would a trans woman be giving birth on a maternity ward?
You tell me, because apparently they can do that.
That's a crazy thing
apparently
to
they
ask.
can do that.
That's a crazy thing
Here's
to
the
suggest.
reality.
Let me bring in Blair.
We're coming to a point, and speaking as a trans woman on the panel here, we're getting to a point in society where we have to start to cope with the fact that there have been a lot of excesses with the trans movement. It's done a lot of things incorrectly. It has put people off. It's hurt women. It's hurt children. And I think recalibrating is the only way to get to a point where things are actually, not having to, we don't have to worry about women in prisons and in hospital situations. These are things that we've solved long ago. And for whatever reason, it's bubbling back up.
That's because they're not solved. They're bubbling back up because it was never solved. They just put convicted rapists in a whole community. He just got put in prison with another woman, and people was confused about it. These situations didn't disappear, lady. Well, ma'am, missus. No, I'm not want to hate on people. I don't do disrespectful. I don't let it, but you're mentally ill and you need Jesus. But no, these situations coming back up because it was never solved in the first place because trans people are like, how do I explain it without being rude? Because I don't want to be rude. I don't like being disrespectful. I generally believe everybody deserves some levels of respect. And I'm not a mean person at heart, but still, these problems are coming back up because they was never solved. You just push them to the side. Like I said, ever since story, it's pretty recent. I kid you not, it's relatively recent. Where how they put a trans woman, a trans lady, a trans it, whatever you want to call it, into a convicted serial rapist, into a prison with a bunch of women, and guess what happened? That's why these problems are coming back up because they never disappeared. They're always been here. There's so many stories on TikTok, etc., of how these trans people flat out. He said, and I quote, "I dare one of you stop me from going into the women's restrooms. I dare you," and see what's happening. Like, pretty actively making dress stores people. And a lot of these people are like adversely weird, and they're doing some weird, and they're doing some messed up, horrible activity that should not be repeated. But still, it's really not right, fam. That's why they keep coming back up because they haven't disappeared.
Because of politics. But at the end of the day, when it comes to prison specifically, biological men should not be in women's prisons. We
They
have
shouldn't.
enough incidents here in the US of women getting pregnant, getting raped, because at the end of the day, in a lot of states in the US, you don't even have to have reassignment surgery to be in a women's prison. It's just on your safe, though.
Well, you know,
And I
Blair,
think
in
And I
Scotland,
think Piers is absolutely correct when he says that not only does this damage women and children, it's also come and it's rebounded and it's damaged trans people. And it's
Yes.
made people look at the community like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, and on that point about the prisons, I mean, the Scottish National Party, which is the ruling party in Scotland, the leader's just resigned, closely following on the heels of the previous leader. And it all goes back, actually, to when the previous leader, Nicola Sturgeon, insisted on putting a male rapist into a female prison. And at that point, most
Insane.
Scottish people rose up and went, this is completely insane. Why
It's
would
nonsense.
you put somebody who's in a male prison, having committed crimes of rape as a biological male, into a women's prison where he can attack other women? I mean, it was
Because the fear-
mind-bogglingly insane.
It is insane, and it's because the fear of being called transphobic, even the state fears it, which is
Yeah,
really
I don't
scary.
care.
And at the
Call
end
me
of the day,
transphobic
it's
all
like,
you want.
But
yeah,
actually, let me ask
and
James. Blair, just hang on one sec. James, you literally, you come in, week out, and you talk for trans people, and you tell them how they should all be thinking about this.
No, that's
You've
not
literally, well, hang on, you've just literally heard a trans woman, identifying as a trans woman, explain to you why you're wrong. Are you going to now tell her, as a gay man, are you now going to tell her how she should be feeling?
I just wanted to pick up on the point you said where, people in politics are afraid to be transphobic. That is absolutely not the case in this country, where our Prime Minister will happily make transphobic jokes and get away with it.
well, it's shifting now. It's shifting now, but we're leaving an era where it was absolutely, a thing that was happening where you couldn't speak against the movement. You couldn't be seen as on the wrong side of history. Now it's shifting because people are becoming aware of these excesses that we're talking about.
But is that okay
And there's this
for
weird
a Prime
cognitive
Minister to
dissonance.
make those kind of jokes? Is that okay?
There is no room.
I don't
and there
really
should
care
be
about jokes. I don't
there-
really
there
care
should
about
be
jokes.
no
And the idea
room.
that jokes...
I'm sorry.
And by the way, just to be clear, the joke the Prime Minister made was in reference to the fact that the Labour leader is incapable of saying what a woman is, right? and believes that 99% of women don't have a penis. Okay, let's not get into the graphic.
And if we want to get very literal and slightly personal, that sort of thing affects me exactly 0%. But men, trans women, and biological males being in women's prisons is actually going on a realistic level going to affect me more because it makes me look like one of these people. So if I had to choose between which one I want to stop happening, I really don't care about jokes. And because I'm a normal person, I care more about women's safety.
And again, I come to you, James. I will come to you, Officer Tatum. You're waiting very patiently, but James, again, week in, week out, you are enraged by all this. You think it's terrible that trans people should be able to do all these things. They should be able to compete against biological women at sport. They should be able to put in women's prisons. They should be able to do the blah, blah, blah.
I've never spoken on women's prisons, actually.
So you don't think they should be?
That's a misquote.
So just
I think...
Well, hang on, just to be clear. Hang on, okay. Hang on, you put me up.
Yeah.
So let me give you the chance to clarify. Do you think trans people should be put into women's prisons?
They shouldn't, not even a little bit.
I think that they should be safe.
Yes
as should all prisoners.
Hang on, that wasn't the question.
That's my answer, Piers. I'm not going to get dragged into it. I'm not getting dragged into it.
You dragged yourself into it.
I don't understand the prison
You denied ever saying it.
But I'm not
now asking. Hang on.
As has been pointed out, I'm not a trans woman.
Hang on.
I'm not a trans man.
Oh, now you're backing off because
no, I have always said that. I have always said that. But so often I'm thrown into this panel without another trans person being here, and I have to be the. So thank God you're here to be able to talk about it.
Let me just hang on one second, everyone. Hang on one second. I just want to ask Joe, because you did pick me up on this. You stopped me to pick me up on it. So you've made it an issue. Just for the record.
You said that I made a comment on it, and
just for the record, should trans women be allowed to be put into women's prisons? Yes or no?
Honestly, I have no understanding on the issue, and I don't want to make a comment.
Fantastic.
But I won't be told that I have an opinion.
And yet you think that trans women athletes should be allowed to compete against biological women?
No.
Yes, I do think that, yeah.
No.
You see no inconsistency in these positions?
I don't really know, because I haven't made a comment on the prison.
All right, let me bring it up as a
Because he's scared to be...
I'm not scared.
He's scared to be
Honestly,
shamed.
I
The
think...
same thing that Blair said. Let me talk. The same thing that Blair was saying, that people are afraid to be called transphobic and all this stuff. And so are you.
I'm not
afraid. You won't be honest and tell the truth about the fact that it's absolutely mind-blowingly ridiculous to think that a man with a penis that's impersonating a woman or think he's a woman can be in a women's prison. That's insane.
But this is where the disagreement is.
You seem to think it's no disagreement, brother. The man has a penis, and he's in a cell with a woman.
She's a woman.
With a penis.
No.
A woman with a penis.
I believe a trans woman
This
is
is
a
a problem with society. This is a problem with society.
Don't all talk over each other.
Let me finish.
Yeah,
this is the problem with society. We need to be logical, reasonable, and operate in facts. It is a man that identify as a woman. It's not a woman. It's very simple. Why can't we get that correct?
Well, why can't let's ask Blair.
I don't know how
Blair, as the only trans person on this panel, what do you feel about what Officer Tatum just said there?
I 100% agree. And I don't know exactly what goes on overseas in prisons. I'm an American, but what I do know here is just about once a month, there's some kind of story about a female inmate in a federal prison becoming pregnant, being raped, because at the end of the day, these are biological males with the capability to impregnate women, to rape women. And the idea that trans safety should always trump women's safety, I just don't understand that. And the other problem with people like this is they never offer any solutions. So for me, there are such things as LGBT wards in certain prisons in America. And for me, that's a very easy solution to this problem. Put trans people in LGBT wards. That keeps the trans person safe, and it also keeps women safe.
Yeah, I completely agree with that solution. I think my issue with this conversation is that it feels like
you're not in there to be safe. You're in there because you committed some
time people do
You don't get sent to prison to be safe. Of course, you shouldn't have biological males. You shouldn't have Negroes in the same prisons as biological women. You're not. It doesn't matter if they're safe or not because you're in there because you committed some dastardly crime. Although some people are there because of innocence and they're there because they don't have a choice or because of their situations. You're not there to keep yourself safe or be safe. You shouldn't be. We shouldn't put more money into these prisons to make people feel safe. You're there for a reason, unless you're innocent. Secondly, prisons are meant to be rehabilitation centers. I don't know why they're acting like prisons is supposed to be the end-all be-all. You're supposed to be there to get the help you need and to actually become a social member of society. But nah, none of that happens. Want to know why? Because they don't care. The modern prison system is pretty much essentially just slavery.
Not
Behind it,
though.
but a
This
lot
is
of
real
people do.
stuff.
I don't think
There
anybody
are a
here
lot
is
of women-
transphobic.
There are a lot of women, biological women, as you would say, in women's prison that are also raping women,
As
and
I
no
would
one is
say.
talking about that. No one's discussing that. Everyone
It's
just
not
talks
as I
about the
would say, that's
1% of trans people that live in this
Not the
country
same
that
thing.
probably aren't going to prison.
All right, let me
It's all
bring
made
it. Let
into
me.
this
All right,
big
let me bring
deal,
it.
and it isn't.
Let me, as you've made clear, James, you're not prepared to pass comment on this, and we know why, because you don't want to say what is actually the obvious reality, which is it's insane, because your fear that you will be accused of being transphobic, which is, of course, very ironic, because that is the word that is used about all of us whenever we try and stand up for women's rights.
I do understand why
Even
you're saying
me.
that, but by coming on here and supporting trans people in the way I do, I'm constantly called
I support
groomer
trans people.
by your fans.
But you
Hang
know
on.
what? There's
Is that
such
not
a
also
thing.
Hang on,
scary?
I
It's
support-
very brave
As
of
I
me
said
to
to you,
have this opinion.
as I said to you, and as I've been consistent in print and
But you've
on air,
ignored what I said.
I have always defended trans people's rights to fairness and equality. I do want to bring back Esther just on this one point about Daniel Radcliffe, who told The Atlantic, one of the big media organizations in America. It makes me really sad, ultimately, because I do look at the person that I met, the times that we met, the books that she wrote, and the world that she created, and all of that to me is so deeply empathetic. This is after he's attacked J.K. Rowling again for her stance on defending women's rights. These Harry Potter stars are a bunch of deluded, ill-informed, spoiled brats.
Yeah.
The truth is, this whole debate
Agreed.
now in this country has come full square behind J.K. Rowling, who has never been transphobic. I don't even, by the way, I don't even like J.K. Rowling. She's abused me for years, right, on Twitter, called me all sorts of terrible names. She once said it was absolutely delicious to see me be told to fuck off on American TV. So I have no truck with her whatsoever. However, on this, she has been brave and correct. And now the woke worm has turned and come round to J.K. Rowling. And Esther, people like Daniel Radcliffe, spoiled little brats who don't know what they're talking about. They've caused more damage than she has ever done.
I find the lack of self-awareness actually quite baffling. So just removing J.K. Rowling from this, if they suddenly don't like her as a person, fine. But she's speaking on behalf of women that are scared of having their spaces removed. She was a victim of domestic violence, and she's saying it is detrimental to women to remove their safe spaces. It is detrimental to women to tell them that they must compete with biological men who somehow feel entitled
Because
to those
it's
spaces.
true.
How can they not see past that? It's more than just the fact that J.K. Rowling gave them a career and gave them a wonderful start and all of that. Think of the women that she's speaking on behalf of. So you're willing to put all of those women's lives at risk to be able to virtue signal to what all 10 trans people.
And by the way, if they're that outraged by how evil J.K. Rowling is, hand back all the money you've made from J.K. Rowling. Every dollar of the tens of millions you've all raked in because you were very, very happy to make money from her, and now you want to trash her in public. It's the worst kind of disloyalty. Just want to ask you, James,
I
because
think
you
it's
are...
very interesting.
Sorry,
I
Blair,
think it's really interesting. I think it's interesting how J.K. Rowling has become this figurehead for, as obviously her detractors would say, transphobia or hatred or whatever. And I think it's really indicative of the fact that the trans community has become so radioactive and such a repellent to common sense and reason that the person who made Dumbledore gay retroactively, that made
What?
Hermione Granger black retroactively, it takes a lot to get that person to be like, but you know what, the trans people are doing a bit much here.
No,
I think that should show everyone it's time to recalibrate and get some common sense.
Yes.
And it's not a bad thing. Separate but not equal is not always a bad thing.
Yeah,
I don't feel victimized in any way that I'm not in every single woman's space, or I have my own space, I do my own thing, and that's how trans people should be.
God, it's so refreshing to hear a trans person publicly say this, because a lot of trans people I know are too scared to get involved in this. They don't want to have a fuss. They don't want to have all this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want to be mocked.
Well,
It'll be
because-
laughed at, ridiculed because of trans activists or allies who think they're being allies to the trans community and actually having the complete opposite effect. I want to ask you, Joe, because you're the only person who identifies as gay on this panel. I think that's right.
Right, are you about to come out? Piers?
Not yet. I've always found
look.
you a very handsome and attractive
Thank
young
you.
man.
I nearly said you too, but I had to stop myself because I don't lie.
Now, there's a new Pride flag. I tried to read out all the initials that go with Pride these days. I can't keep up with it. More and more people seem to get added to it. But it's a weird picture of this Pride flag. Let's take a look.
What is that?
It looks like the
It's
old
ugly.
test card on on television
Showing your age.
when everything froze.
It looks like a
James,
pig
what about looking
nut
at
or
it? It's a psychedelic vomit mess, isn't it? What is it?
It looked like utter nuts.
I love that it's got an umbrella, like representation for the rain in this country. Honestly, like, I don't really. Honestly, I don't really get it. Like, I don't understand why we need to keep changing it. But what I do understand
Why
is that
do
it
they
doesn't
keep
matter.
changing it?
But it's fine. You know, that's the point with the flag. Like, we can change it. We're not stuck in our ways like straight people. We're not going to get upset by the England flag being redesigned. Well, it can if it wants to. It's changed a lot over the years, and people continue to.
It looks like utter nuts.
There shouldn't even be. There shouldn't even be a flag.
It, but should we?
Well,
Sometimes.
But why
things
not?
are okay
I mean,
to
we didn't invent the rainbow. God invented the rainbow. We use that as a symbol to let. We use that as a symbol to let people know that.
Well, actually, you raise a good point there.
We don't need to do that. I think, like, if you're an American, you're all encompassed under the American flag. We're all Americans, whether you're gay, straight, blind, you can see, crippled. It doesn't matter. We're all Americans. And we should be accepting of one another. We don't have to like one another. We don't have to like what each other does. But we should be accepting. And that's the way that normal people believe. It's the trans and the LGBTQ AARP.
So wait, are you saying that when you go past like a Ford factory and they've got like a big Ford flag outside or a Chrysler flag, or are you not allowed those flags because those flags don't represent the company?
You're saying that
well, you're saying that I can't have a pride flag because
you actually cleared
the
it up.
American flag does the job. So does that mean all flags are banned?
No. What you're saying is that the LGBTQ is a business.
No, I'm not.
There you are.
A crazy analogy to try and understand what you're saying about how my identity as a gay man is not allowed because I'm also
because
British.
It never ends, brother. It never ends.
But why does it matter to you? It's only you that can. Look, I know you guys are all really jealous that you don't have a flag, and so I know you're triggered.
Jealous.
I know that you're triggered by.
I do.
Finally designed you
Thank you.
a flag.
Bro, why would we be jealous that we don't have the Alphabet Mafia flag? How? No, absolutely not. And if you want to be technical, straight people are already included in the LGBTQ plus. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna cut that out because it's just my personality. We're already technically included in there. We're already there. So why would we need to design a new one? If you want to be actually technical, we already have a flag. We're part of the We're already part of a flag. We're already included in there. Goofy. Most of these people.
With your face on it, you can proudly wave wherever you want. And guys, I'll send you one as well.
You can't even describe what the flag means.
I want a straight flag that I can wave proudly as well.
I'm all right.
I've got a straight flag for you.
I'm fine.
There you go.
There we go.
Oh no.
There we go.
There you go. Do you feel like you're part of it now? Do you feel happy?
Here's what I feel is the reason they keep changing the pride flag is the definition of what it is to be LGBT has now been increased to so many ludicrous numbers of digits, numbers, and letters. Nobody knows what it means. It has lost all meaning.
Nobody does.
It used to be just lesbian and gay. We get it. Okay, well, I'm happy. Be proud. I'm proud of you, right? I'm proud of anyone who wants to come out as gay. But here's the thing. We're about to enter Pride Month again.
Yeah, I can't wait.
A whole month of shouting about being gay. Why?
No, it's about shouting about being LGBTQIA+.
Nobody tells you you're gay every day of the year.
Every day.
Loud and proud. Why do you need a whole special month? And where's my month?
You don't need a straight month.
Why? I want a straight month.
You know why?
I'm now the most marginalised member of community.
You know why? Yeah. Because the rest of the year is always straight. Every day is straight. We live in a society that is straight.
No. Are you serious?
It's a straight jacket around us.
That's how you were born. Anybody spoke up.
That's how you were born.
Middle-aged, straight white guys like me.
Do we need you? Because you're the patriarchy, Piers.
We
Stop
are.
This stupid argument.
We're not. We are actually the minority now. We're the minority group.
Right. Well, I'm finally.
Let me move on. I want to start with you, if I may, Officer Tatum, on this. Is celebrity Trump derangement syndrome back? Kamala Harris, 2 clips. Joe Biden on Howard Stern, Kamala Harris on Drew Barrymore, which is one of the most revolting things I think I've ever watched on global television in the history of television. Let's take a look at Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, on Drew Barrymore's show.
That says a lot.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Did she just say Mamala? And people are clapping for it. No comment.
Let me bring it over to Tatum. Have you ever felt more nauseous watching television than in the Marmala moment?
No, I mean, these people are absolutely ridiculous. I want to say another word, but I'm trying to be a good Christian. But, you know, this woman, they're all fake. They're all fake. Kamala Harris is now the first black vice president. When she was, elected into the Senate, she was the first Indian senator. I mean, these people are absolutely ridiculous. What does Mamala mean? Is that going to help with inflation? Is that going to help bring down prices of groceries? None of that matters. Are they going to secure the border? None of what she's doing on the couch with this other lady, Barrymore. I mean, they got a big old couch. Why are they sitting right in front of each other? These people are absolutely ridiculous and virtue signaling.
Well, it's not Mamala's fault. She didn't ask to be called that, right? She just said that her stepchildren call her that. And then Drew was like...
Well, there's two ignorant folks just saying rubbish. None of that really matters to the American people. I don't know why they even have a conversation about it.
What I found fascinating, though, is you only see on American... Honestly... Well, hang on, Blair, I'm going to come to you. In American television, it's very... As you get into election year, actually any year with Trump, you would never see this in reference to Trump or Melania or his vice president or his vice president's wife or any of that.
We don't see...
They are all the devils, right? The only people that you can talk this way about. And it was interesting to me because Howard Stern is one of the people I most admire in world media. And he's one of the greatest interviewers in history, and I love the guy. But I was actually quite surprised about just how softball he was with Joe Biden last week. Let's take a look.
You know, the reason I'm so excited to talk to you was because I wanted to understand the tragedy in your life and how you dealt with it. And you're the kind of leader I love because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country. Because if you're a good father to your family, which you are, I know you'd be a good father to the country. And I want to thank you for providing a calming influence, an organized administration post-COVID, getting that vaccine out. I remember what the world was like at that point, getting NATO, getting us to feel comfortable, standing up to Putin, the incredible large growth in the jobs, unemployment rate down. I'll give you your greatest hits. The lowest uninsured rate in history. 4 out of 5 Americans are covered for less than $10 a month. Knocking off a few ISIS leaders.
That's complete and utter lies. Stuff of it. I've been hearing nothing but people complaining time and time again about how things are getting worse and worse and worse. I've seen people shut up crying because they can't afford to take care of their kids. I've seen people crying because they losing their homes. And you have the audacity and the nerves to say unemployment is at an all-time low. I can walk outside right now. I can find people. I've seen people living in their cars. Straight up. And you have the audacity to say that unemployment is low. Oh, heck no.
Cutting the emissions in half. I mean, you've always been an environmentalist.
I mean, it went on and on. Blair, I mean, I'm
nothing but lies.
That Howard went quite so far in the sycophancy route with Biden. Were you?
It's not surprising at all. There's this really sick thing that happens in American media where if you are a celebrity or a host or an interview, you have to absolutely worship to the point of insanity any Democrat politician on the show. And every Republican politician, we're talking from, Congress to president to anyone, is literally Hitler. And this is something I've observed my whole life. George Bush was literally Hitler. John McCain was literally Hitler. Mitt Romney. And now Trump. And now they want you to believe that, actually, no, this is really literally Hitler this time with Trump. But it's the same thing with the Kamala thing. And Kamala's legacy is particularly sad to me. I mean, it was spoken very plainly by the Biden administration that she
Trump
was
is a warlock, though.
picked because she was a black woman. And I think that that's just actually really embarrassing and hurtful towards black women and minorities in this country who want to believe that they can prosper on their own merit rather than be handpicked out of something. So I've never understood the love for Miss Kamala.
Well, it just looks so partisan. I mean, I spoke to Charlemagne the God in New York recently, and he's gone completely off the Biden administration because he thinks Kamala's been so useless for African Americans and done absolutely nothing.
Exactly, she did nothing for African Americans.
Trump was better.
Yeah, I think that's why he's getting a lot more vote now.
That's the sad part. Trump actually did more for black people than Harris. In fact, Harris sent more black people to prison, like hundreds of people.
in polls from African Americans. Esther, let me ask you, there's also a Time interview with Trump. They had 2 long interviews with him, done a big cover story in which he lays out what he may do if he comes back to the Oval Office. And it's gone down with the Democrats like a lead balloon, obviously. Amongst many things, he said he used the military to sort out the southern border, National Guard, if necessary, migrant detention camps possible, suggests a 60% plus tariff on Chinese imports. Says Israel, they should be changing their public relations. It's fared very badly. It says abortion is a states' rights issue. Talking about access to abortion pills, we'll have an opinion on that. I'm not going to explain, I'm not going to say it. I have pretty strong views, but he won't say them. He would absolutely consider pardoning January 6th defendants, even those who've...
That's all I'm going to need here. I'm going to end this live stream here. I might be going over a kick soon, but that's how I'm going to end this video. It's complicated. In a long point, this made no sense. This dude was just lying this entire time. People are like, if there's anything I learned about watching any of this, I hate politics, and I genuinely believe that it's annoying.